So, the story of Jonah and the whale, the story is about 3,000 years old, and it still holds as much significance today as it did thousands of years ago. And it is because we somehow relate to the person in the story who goes through a lot of suffering, through a lot of pain, and finally triumphs. Somehow, when we see someone win, we see a part of ourselves into it. Anyways, Jonah is a prophet in the Old Testament, and one day he wakes up and God tells him to go to a city called Nineveh and tell that the city will fall in 40 days. This is probably a place that he has never been to. And imagine you one day you wake up and you have this big, huge task in front of you. Obviously, Jonah is scared because he does what everybody else would do in his situation. He's fearful and he starts to run away. There's no way he's gonna go to a city that he has never been to. There's no way he's gonna step on the stones at the temple and shout out for everybody to hear the city's gonna fall in 40 days. No way. He's afraid. He doesn't trust himself. Maybe he thinks he cannot do it. For whatever reason, he starts running. So what he does, he runs away in the opposite direction of the city. He runs, and he runs. As a matter of fact, he runs so fast and so far that he runs out of land and he gets to the sea and he runs farther away. He pays for a ticket, gets into a ship and sails into the sea in the opposite direction. He's basically in denial. He thinks that he cannot do this, what he is called for, his basic calling in life, and he runs away. Now, the only thing is that we cannot run away from what our calling is. That voice within us will always be with us no matter where we go. So he realizes that soon enough, because when he gets on the ship, as soon as the ship departs, all of a sudden there's a big storm. This storm is no ordinary storm. And the sailors on the ship realize that, and they know that there's something going on here. So what they do is they investigate, they throw a lot, and they realize that it is Jonah that is causing the storm, which he admits right away. He says, yes, this is me. God wanted me to go to a city and do this and that. I didn't. I'm running away, and this is causing the storm. As a matter of fact, Jonah invites the sailors to just throw him off the ship into the sea so that nobody will be harmed. But the people on the ship, they kind of have compassion on him, and they decide not to throw him off the ship for a while. And then as the storm worsens, they realize that either he perishes or the rest of us, the rest of the people on the ship will perish with him. So what they do is throw him off the board. Now, this is a synopsis of the story. There's a lot of symbolism here. There's a lot of significance in everything that happens. For example, being thrown off the ship could mean a lot of different things. It could be being cast off from the society, and the sea represents obviously the subconscious mind. So as soon as Jonah is thrown into the sea, he is swallowed by a big whale or a big fish. The story says a big fish. Whether it's a whale or something else, we don't know. But really what it is you can look at a story as a literal meaning or the significance of the story that it holds. Because the belly of the fish or the belly of darkness can be different things. It could be depression, it could be fear, it could be unhappiness, it could be anything. So this represents a lot of symbolism in the story. Now, we want to make clear when we talk about God, we don't mean a God in the sky. Basically what we mean is that this voice within us, we're all born with different gifts, with different responsibilities. And what we call God in this story is that voice, the conscious of us basically, that tells us that we should be doing one thing or the other. It basically is the potentiality, it's basically the potential of us that yearns to be manifested in the world. So I just want to explain that. So he's swallowed by the fish for 3 days or 3 nights. And he still refuses to give up. He's still holding for what he believes in, which is he's not going to the city, he's not going to say anything. Now, these 3 days and 3 nights in the belly of darkness can represent a lot of different things. It could be 3 days, it could be 30 years, it could be a whole lifetime, it could be 30 minutes. But if we say no to the voice of God, or rather to our hearts, really, then we suffer. It could be a suffering, it could be depression, it could be fear, it could be unhappiness, it could be jitteriness, it could be an addiction, it could be lack of some sort of lack in our lives or another. So we do not have to be really literally be thrown out of the sea to suffer. So Jonah still hangs on to what he believes in, which is he's fearful. He does not believe in himself, maybe. But after 3 days and 3 nights, he's suffering in anguish, which we do in our lives. And then he realizes, look, what am I doing here? Surely going to a foreign city and telling them the city's going to fall, maybe that's what he thought, is not going to be as bad as suffering in anguish this way. And he has a realization. He just realizes that this is not worth it. Now, recovering alcoholics famously call that moment a moment of clarity, when we realize, hey, whatever we have to do is not as bad as this. So he finally, in the story, it is said that he repents. He realizes he's wrong. He prays to God and says that he's going to pay what he is owed. He's basically manifest whatever potential he has. He's going to act on whatever inner voice he has, whatever calling he has, whatever you might want to call it. And the story goes that as soon as he realizes this, he's freed from the belly of the whale and is saved. He goes back to shore. And this time around, he's determined he's not going to go back to that darkness that he has been facing with 3 days and 3 nights. So he starts going back to the city, towards the city of Nineveh, where he has to go. And he goes and goes and goes until he gets to the city and he does what he has to accomplish. Now, there is a second part to the story, but we're going to stop right there because there is a lot and a lot to ponder on. We all go through our sufferings in our lives, and it can be a form of denial, or it can be something that we always wanted to do but we refuse to do, and that's why we suffer. And we might be surrounded by a lot of good things. We might have a well-paying job and everything else, but unless we're in tune with ourselves, we will always be suffer. And quite often it's the fear that is holding us back. And at one point we have to face our fears. Otherwise, we're going to be lingering and suffering like Jonah in the belly of the whale. It can be 3 days, 3 nights. It can be 10 years. It can be 15 years. It can be a lifetime. At one point, we have to face our fears. At one point, we have to listen and act to that voice within us, no matter what that voice said. Because no matter how far we can run away, no matter how far we run away, we cannot run away from ourselves. And we have to come to terms with this. And once we have the clarity and act upon it, once we take responsibility on it, we do not have to be successful in our quest. But as soon as we walk towards our quest, towards what our hearts really wants, we are freed from that darkness. And we start feeling better, like Jonah did. And he went and accomplished what he wanted to do. Once again, there's a lot of symbolism in the story that we do not have time to cover. But I'm going to make sure I'll write a full and detailed blog post from that story. I hope you enjoyed it, and talk to you next time.